I want to share with you my favorite tools when it comes to art meditation. So to kick things off, I want to give you my 3 basic guidelines I like to follow when it comes to art meditation supplies. First of all, to be easy to use. Second, I want it to be easy to set up and clean up. And third, I want it to be easy to store or easy to carry. So maybe if I'm traveling, I want really travel-friendly, storage-friendly supplies. So I will walk through everything shown here and show you some examples of art meditations I have done using these tools. Let's talk about the paper or the sketchbooks. So I have my Arteza watercolor sketchbook. Any watercolor sketchbook will do. I like the spiral bound. It's just easy to flip through and really easy to travel with, and I can use this on the go really easily. I'll show you some examples of art meditations I've done. This is using watercolor brush pens and ink, and I'll show you my preferred tools in just a moment. Got my scribble blob art meditation, another scribble blob, another one of the more fine detailed work art meditations. So you can see I really have a style I tend to go to. This is one I did for a video where I was showing the difference between the 2 art meditation techniques using the foundation of the watercolor blob. So that's my Arteza watercolor, thanks to my daughter for decorating the cover for me. Then I've got this Strathmore mixed media sketchbook. This is more for my art journaling. I don't record videos when I work in this sketchbook. This is more of my private me time, maybe where I'm just experimenting with different styles or techniques. And then I'll often take what I work on in here and do a video. So both of these, I've done videos for these techniques, for example. Here's one where I showed you how to make some of your own Zentangle tape, and so on. So that's my mixed media Strathmore art journal. And then for paper, I have a piece of watercolor paper here. Right now I'm just using Strathmore watercolor, 140 pound, and I will cut this down. This is cold press watercolor paper. You can see, hopefully you see all the details there. And I will use my paper cutter. I just have this Westcott titanium. I don't know where I got this. Could have been Target, could have been Amazon, could have been Michael's. I've had this thing for over a decade, but I'll cut my paper down usually. I also will sometimes use my oil and acrylic paper. Again, I like to buy the extra large size so I can do a large piece if I want, but I can also cut these down. While we're talking about paper, I also have on hand my Strathmore marker paper and my black mixed media paper. Here's an example of an art meditation I did on the black paper. This was using Sharpie creative markers and then a white gel pen to outline. And this was, I did a video on this. This was a breathing technique where you, it's box breathing, and you follow your in-breath, you hold, you count your out-breath, hold, and as you do that, you're drawing to kind of keep yourself on track. So that was a fun piece. But there's an example on the black paper. Of course, I've got my artist tape. This is just the generic brand from Michael's, and what I like to do to prevent paper from tearing, you just want to stick it against some fabric. You know, usually I do my shirt or my pants, but this would work too. And then you get a little bit of lint on the sticky side, so it helps to prevent your paper from tearing when you're peeling it off at the end. I also have some washi tape. I've used that in videos before. I have all kinds. Lately, I've been into making my own. I have a couple videos on that. Since we're over here, I'll show you. This is just an old bottle cap from one of my daughter's sippy cups. And I use this to create circles sometimes. So I like to have something handy that I can use to trace circles with. What else? Let's see. Let's talk about, we talked about the paper cutter. I have a circle punch. I haven't done a lot of videos with the circle punch, just a couple, but sometimes I'll do like a scribble art meditation and then cut those pieces out after and make little collages or use them for mixed media. That's also where my easy glue stick comes in handy. And again, I want my art meditation tools to be very simple. I think for the tutorials and the videos I share, I also want them to be beginner friendly. I studied art. I was an art major at Utah State University about 20 years ago, and I've been really doing art my whole life since I could hold a pencil or a crayon. And I am not here to showcase or do tutorials on fine art. I am really here to share art meditation techniques for stress relief, relaxation, flow state, self-connection, or even connection to a higher source if you're into that sort of thing. So that's more of my intention behind this channel and the tools I'm showing you today. Let's get into the fun stuff. So I use watercolor brush pens, Arteza brand. These are real brush pens. These are my go-to, and I showed you some examples in my sketchbook, but I'll show you a couple other examples. So here's one. I use the watercolor brush pens as the base for this scribble blob art meditation. Here are some pieces I was experimenting with more intuitive art, and the watercolor brush pens are also the base, and then I use mixed media on top. I also have these Winsor Newton watercolor brush pens. I haven't done any videos with these. I might, but just wanted to show you there are other brands and alternatives. I just really love the color options, and I have, you know, this is a limited set. We've got 12 colors here, and I don't have enough space to show you all of my Arteza pens. I have probably hundreds, so I just really tend to go to these for my art meditations, but wanted to show you an alternative. And then of course the paint pens. I have really been loving my Sharpie creative markers lately, and these are the bullet tip. I also use Posca paint pens a lot. I really love their metallics, and I'll use those for thicker lines. I do have some more fine tipped in glitter and pastel, and actually I used the glitter and pastel in that piece I flipped through earlier. I'll show you this one, so maybe you can see some of that, the glitter, and there's some mixed media here too. I used ink and gel pens as well, but that's where some of those fine tipped Posca paint pens came in. Then of course I use pencils when I do my mosaics, or if I'm laying down an outline, I always like to pencil them in first. Any pencil will do. These just happen to be the ones sitting right next to me when I started recording. I also, oh, you know what? With the watercolor brush pens, let me get back to that. I use water brush pens, and I have several different sizes with different tip sizes, but I like to have a few filled with water on hand at all times. So that goes with the watercolor brush pens. Okay, then of course, the Sharpie. This is great for outlining, detail work. If I want a thicker line, but not quite as thick as the paint pens would provide. I've got my Pigma Micron archival ink pens in black. And I tend to use the 08 size. I do have an 03 here, but I have lots of backups in the 08 size. That tends to be my go-to. And here's some examples. We'll come back to these. So I used Sharpie for the circles and some of the thicker lines, but I used the Micron 08 pen for some of that finer detail work on these. Here's an example of, I'll use paint pens for coloring in the shapes, and then I come over with a Sharpie for some of the detail work. And then of course I've used some washi tape to tape those sections off. This one was done on the oil and acrylic paper. And then for detail work, I also really love my jelly roll pens. And I have white, gold, and silver. So I do have a set of these white jelly roll pens in fine, medium, and bold. So the 10 size, that's the bold. That's what I tend to use. It's 0.5 millimeter. But I do have some fine tip options on hand as well. Here's a piece where I used Sharpie creative markers to lay down the colors, and then I came back and did the detail work with the Jelly Roll pen and the Micron ink pen. Okay, now I want to show you the real star of the show. This is my surprise bonus tool that I never expected to love so much. Here we have Kwik Stix. So I have been using these on art meditations. We bought these for my daughter. She was 4 years old at the time. She just turned 5. But these are solid tempera paint sticks. They come in all, you can see, she definitely uses these, but I do too. They come in all different colors. I have a set of 60. We found them at Barnes & Noble when they were doing like 95% off of their art supplies. Let me show you the whole thing. So I took a few out to show you, but here's this master set. I think on Amazon right now, this is about $60. And in a previous video, I said we got it for $3. That was wrong. They were actually $10. So still a really great find. Lots of color options. You can certainly buy smaller sets of these. There are other brands as well. I mean, these were made for kids. The beauty is they're mess-free. They dry in 90 seconds. Now, unless you layer them a lot, then give them a few more minutes to dry. But my daughter uses these at preschool. And who knew I'd be here using them in my art meditations constantly. And I'll show you a couple examples of art meditations I've done with Kwik Stix. Here's a scribble blob art meditation I did using Kwik Stix as the base. And then I used a Sharpie creative marker for the scribbles on top. This is like a mosaic scribble art meditation. A couple examples. I did a video on this one that y'all really liked, and you tape off the sections and then you scribble over the entire paper, including the tape, with different layers of different colors of Kwik Stix. And then at the very end, after the Kwik Stix had dried for a few minutes, I took a gold Posca paint pen and outlined those edges, and then I removed the tape. Super relaxing. Where I used a variety, I did some watercolor brush pen base for all of these. Then I scribbled on top with a Sharpie, with the Micron ink pen, and with just paint pens. So there you have it. My go-to art meditation supplies to keep things easy so that I don't have to think about what needs to happen before and after as far as setup and cleanup. I save my more complex art supplies for my own private time. Yes, I might get into a flow state when I'm doing my actual art, but art meditation should be so easy, approachable, user-friendly. If you're in a bad mood, just being able to grab any of these tools and some paper and get some marks on the paper can help really give you some instant relief. And I don't like to worry about, again, preparing or cleaning up or what storage has to look like. All of this stores really compact in a single drawer or a single easy art supply bag. So I hope that gave you some ideas and that you can enjoy some stress relieving, satisfying, relaxing, easy art meditation. Thanks for watching.